Friday at 7 p.m. Your weekend sports on Talk Radio Europe with the Friday Sports Bar.
Slammed it into the net.
Hannah Murray in the afternoon.
Welcome back. It is time to introduce Dom Aldworth for the last time with me, anyway, host of our Friday night sports bar with his midweek sporting roundup. How's it going, Dom?
Well, a little bit sad, Hannah. Good afternoon to you. A little bit sad. I've got my box of Kleenex here. It's the last time that we're going to be linking up on a Wednesday afternoon.
I know, it is sad. It is sad. I need to keep abreast with the world of sport now. Without you, how am I going to do it?
Well, you might be left behind a little bit, as you well know. I'm always on the ball with that, but maybe we can do a link up once or twice on your show in the future anyway. I'm just slightly concerned about your social life of an evening time now.
Yes, it'll be non-existent from now on, basically. That's exactly.
I'm sure there's going to be many people that are going to be delighted to wake up with Hannah Murray in the morning on Talk Radio Europe on this coast, that's for sure.
Oh, well, whether people want to or not, that's what they're going to get. So you can't please everyone, as they say. So, tell us what's happening then. We've got Formula One news, first of all.
Yeah, big news in Formula One. It was round 14 last weekend, Hannah. It was Sebastian Vettel, the double world champion, who reignited his title challenge. A second successive win under the lights in Singapore on the Marina Bay Street Circuit. A real spectacular Formula One race of a night time, as we now know. It was the 24th win of Sebastian Vettel's career, and only the second of this season, if you remember what he achieved last year. But nevertheless, a superb drive there from Sebastian Vettel. The Red Bulls always go well there. 23 corners, very good downforce in the Adrian Newey-designed Red Bull car, RB8. But McLaren, incidentally, were quickest all weekend, and they put themselves into a very good position to clinch their fourth consecutive race of the season. Unfortunately, Lewis Hamilton from pole position could not do that. He suffered from gearbox failure, and I think, from my point of view, those are his championship title hopes gone now for this season. Mathematically, he can still do it, but he needs to worry more, concern himself more about the reliability and the pace of the Ferrari. And Jenson Button, his teammate, underlined how quick McLaren were during the course of the weekend by clinching a second finish there for McLaren to keep them in the game. But Fernando Alonso, a very solid third place there for him, the championship leader. It's his 8th podium finish, and that's why he's top of the standings at the moment on 194 points. Sebastian Vettel, as mentioned, is right back in the title challenge there on 165. Kimi Räikkönen on 149 and Lewis Hamilton on 142. As mentioned, mathematically he could do it, but realistically I think his chances have now gone. Suzuka is next up in 2 weeks' time on the Formula One calendar, round 15, and that's the Japanese Grand Prix.
Okay, on to the golf then, the PGA Tour.
Well, it's a massive week of golf, and we're just going to turn our attention very briefly to what happened on the PGA Tour last week, and it was the Tour Championship from East Lake Golf Club in Atlanta. This was the last of the 4 FedEx Cup points, and there was, despite the fact that all top 30 players, some of them had their eye on the Ryder Cup, which we're going to talk about shortly, which begins on Friday. There was the small matter of a $30 million bonus up for grabs, and there was 5 people in the hunt for that. Phil Mickelson, Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, Nick Watney, and Brandt Snedeker. Rory McIlroy, incidentally, was in pole position to deliver that $10 million bonus into his bank account, but it wasn't for the Northern Irishman. The little fancied Brandt Snedeker, he's had a particularly good season on tour, an even better one now, signed off with a 2 under par 68 to finish at 10 under. 3 shots clear of Justin Rose from England. A good finish there from Justin Rose. He finished with 1 over par, but alone in second place, I should say, 3 shots behind Snedeker. Another good finish by a European, former world number 1 Luke Donald, coming in third place there on 6 under par. Tiger Woods finished with a 2 over 72 at 2 under, well off the pace, and so did Rory McIlroy, 1 shot further adrift. A terrible last round there of 4 over par, so a great disappointment there for Rory McIlroy. But the action on the golf continues. It's the Ryder Cup from Medina Country Club, and that begins on Friday. Thursday is the opening ceremony. Hannah, this is probably the greatest team sporting event on the planet for me, no question at all. It's the 39th Ryder Cup. Europe have done particularly well in recent times. Of course, they won at Celtic Manor 2 years ago. In fact, the last 8 events, Europe have actually won at 6 of those. So they certainly go in for me as one of the dominant favourites. It's actually little to choose between the two if you consider recent form on both tours. A lot of people will suggest that perhaps the Americans have the edge with home advantage. I disagree with that for the simple reason most of Europe's top players now play on a regular basis on the PGA Tour and win as well. So they're used to American conditions. all eyes will be on the world number 1 and the world number 2, Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods, especially if they go face-to-face, or head-to-head, should I say, in the singles on Sunday. Only time will tell whether that's what the captains have decided to choose. Very exciting event, the Ryder Cup. I know there's a lot of people out there that enjoy it. And we'll just have a look at some of those teams at the moment. In the United States, it's the captain is Davis Love III. You've got Tiger Woods, Bubba Watson, who's the Masters champion from this year, Jason Duffner, a 3-times winner on the PGA Tour, Keegan Bradley, a former major winner, Webb Simpson, the US Open champ from this year, Zach Johnson, Matt Kuchar, Phil Mickelson, Johnson, Furyk, Snedeker and Stricker. A very strong American lineup there. But I can tell you right now, the European team is looking pretty good as well. Jose Maria Lafavelle is the captain there. World number 1, Rory McIlroy, a 2-times major winner. Justin Rose, who just performed particularly well last weekend. Graham McDowell, who we're going to hear from shortly. Paul Lawrie, Francisco Molinari, Luke Donald and Lee Westwood, 2 former world number 1s. Sergio Garcia, resurgent Sergio Garcia of recent times. Peter Hansen, Martin Kamer, a former world number 1. Ian Poulter and Nicholas Colsaert, who won recently down here at the Volvo World Match Play. So exciting weekend to look forward to for golf fans. We've got a little bit of audio I think you've got lined up from Rupert Bell at Lloyd Bell Communications, who interviewed Graham McDowell on his thoughts of the Ryder Cup. So if you stick it on to listeners, Hannah.
Yeah, excitement, inspiration, motivation, and just a little shot of adrenaline in the heart, really, I suppose, are the kind of statements that describe how you feel when you come to your first, come to the Ryder Cup the first time round, and certainly my third time round, it feels exactly the same way, and I'm just excited to be part of the team, a great team, and get together for the first time as a team last night and go to bed fairly wired and fairly excited, and I can barely sleep, and it's all the good stuff. It's all the good stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing this golf course today and seeing what Captain Love III has in store for us.
Do you need to look at a video to remember what happened 2 years ago on that 17th green and those scenes, which were extraordinary, considering you'd already won the US Open a few months earlier, and then you had that?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the replay many times, and my memories kind of blur. I'm not sure what's replays and what are memories anymore. I guess my only memories really are walking to the 17th tee box, feeling more adrenaline in my body than I ever had in my whole life, and more emotional, and having to steady myself to hit a tee shot on 17, really. And I mean, looking forward to feeling that way again this week. I mean, I don't think I'll feel quite that intense. I mean, that was an out-of-body experience, really, but I'm hoping it's not going to be that close this week. I'm hoping the Europeans can get the job done. I think we've got a great team, so do they. I do think it's going to be close, though. I think it's going to boil down to a few putts here and there, and hopefully we can make them.
You know what it's like to play away from home. You also know what it's like to be on a losing team away from home in Valhalla 2008, when you actually played well. What was the difference, and what are the differences that are required from European team members away from home?
You just got to expect certain reactions from the crowd. Expect silence when you hold putts, and expect cheering when you miss putts, and that just kind of goes with the territory. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that from a crowd's point of view, and apart from that, really, I mean, nervousness, there's not really much room for that. You've just got to leave that in the first tee, and you've got to realise that you've just got to go make birdies and eagles to win matches, and like I say, not much room for anxiety and nerves and bad shots. Really, just go out there and let it all hang out and see if you can win some points.
America seem to have players near to the top of the world rankings, outside of the top 3, of course, in the European team, but they've got a very strong in depth. I think is all their players from the top 23 or top 24 in the world rankings. But Europe have experience. You have experience, and is that something that is going to stand to Europe?
I think so. I think we've, like you say, the American team's strong. They've got a nice balance of experience and new blood, and a little bit more camaraderie perhaps on their side that maybe they've never had before. And but we're the same way. We've got a great balance of experience in that team room, and rocks and emotional, inspirational type guys, and we've got a nice mix. One rookie who's an incredibly talented rookie, in Nicholas Colsaert, and just a lot of really solid players after that, and we've got the best player in the world right now and the hottest player on the planet in Rory McIlroy.
Well, finally, you and Rory looks a likely starting partnership on Friday, along with a few other very predictable European pairings. That's one of the strengths of the European team, that you have this 4 solid pairings, it looks like, to go out on Friday. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, we've got tried and tested pairings. You don't need me to tell you who they are. Myself and Rory, Poulter, Rose, Garcia, Donald, Westwood, Donald. I mean, they're yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's an interesting one. We do have tried and tested partnerships, but we also have a team that I think there are a lot of guys who could play with a lot of guys. So that could be a headache for Jose. But hopefully he has 12 guys playing well come Friday, and it's a tough decision to leave guys on the bench. I think that's the ideal scenario.
Well, there you go, Hannah. That's one of the heroes from 2010 and Celtic Manor, Graham McDowell, who certainly will be a very important part of the European Ryder Cup team, which begins on Thursday. The opening ceremony, as already mentioned, and Friday, the tournament itself. So a very exciting weekend for golf fans to look forward to. And you heard from Graham there first on Talk Radio Europe.
Woohoo! Thanks, Dom. Moving on to the cycling then. There's some news with Cavendish.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's no longer the world champion, and no longer the reigning world champion, which he won last year. It was much touted that he wasn't actually going to secure a second world championship this season due to the layout of the course. But very unselfishly, he pulled out of the race, Hannah, after 140 kilometres. He worked exceptionally hard at the front of the peloton, pushing that peloton along for at least 100 kilometres. But like already mentioned, it was well expected that Cavendish was not going to defend his title. The favourite did eventually end up on top there, and that was Philippe Gilbert from Belgium. Superb finish from him. Hagen came in second place there, and Spain's Alessandro Valverde, who did particularly well recently in the La Vuelta. I think he came in second or third place in La Vuelta recently, secured himself another podium finish there, coming in third place.
Okay, some sad boxing news.
Well, yeah, pretty sad boxing news. Unfortunately, a very brutal death for former WBC champion Corey Sanders. He incidentally was one of the last men to beat the Klitschko brothers all the way back in 2003 when he defeated Vladimir Klitschko. A year later, unfortunately, he lost to Vitaly Klitschko in 2004, the older of the two brothers when they were in their prime. But Corey Sanders very sadly lost his life. A hail of bullets, unfortunately, while he was protecting his family with an armed robbery in South Africa. A very, very sad loss. An exceptionally well-liked and very well-respected man in the world of boxing with a pretty good record as well, 46 fights, 42 wins and 4 losses. And the Klitschko brothers have certainly come out in support of his family over the last couple of days. Real shocking news to go through the world of boxing. A little bit more positive news, though, for David Haye. It looks like that fight with the older of the two Klitschkos, Vitaly, is going to go ahead. It's one step closer, just working now on negotiations as to where the venue will be held. Klitschko hails from Ukraine. That is where he wants to hold the fight. But David Haye has said absolutely not. Racism is rife there. He's already received several death threats from Ukrainian fans because of the colour of his skin. I'm in complete agreement there with David Haye. He's quite happy to fight in Germany, which is where the Klitschkos normally have their fights. That looks like will probably go ahead. And hopefully we can get these contracts signed very soon and look forward to David Haye taking on Klitschko at 41 years old. I had, I wouldn't say the pleasure of watching his last fight a couple of weeks ago. The 41-year-old had the hand speed of a 55-year-old. I think Haye will definitely fancy his chances. And if they can get it together, the WBC belt will be up for grabs and Haye could become a world champion again.
Okay, on to the cricket then, the T20 World Cup roundup.
Yeah, and it's coming to you from Sri Lanka, Hannah. It's now the business end of the T20 World Cup. That's the shorter version of the game. Very exciting version of the game, I must say. And the sides for the Super 8s have now been decided. In Group A, you have England, the West Indies, Sri Lanka and New Zealand. In Group B, which is very much the group of death, India, Australia, South Africa, Pakistan. 4 of the favourites, certainly, to lift this trophy. The top 2 in each group go through to the semi-finals. Some action coming up for you tomorrow when the Super 8s begin. Sri Lanka will be taking on New Zealand, and Brendan McCullum, the wicket-keeper batsman, who's already broken a world record for the fastest 100 earlier in the competition. England take on the West Indies tomorrow as well. Chris Gale will certainly be one to watch for England. And their bowlers, one of the most explosive batsmen in T20 cricket, without question. And then on Thursday, it's Group B's turn. Pakistan will take on South Africa. Pakistan with match winners in Saeed Akmal and Shahid Afridi. South Africa got a few of them themselves in Dale Steyn and captain A.B. de Villiers. And then the big one for me, certainly Australia versus India. Australia unbeaten in the competition so far. India are specialists at this format, no question about that. Mahendra Singh Dhoni, the captain, is devastating with a bat in hand, and Shane Watson is certainly the best all-rounder in this form of the game for the Australians. So the business end of the T20 kicks off tomorrow, and that's the Super 8s.
Okay, and what's happening in the rugby?
Well, it's the Aviva Premiership, and the Harlequins remain unbeaten. They're the defending champions. A superb 22-9 win away against the Leicester Tigers on the weekend, leave them top of the table. Exeter shocked Saracens, the 2010 champions, with a 14-12 win. They lose ground now on Harlequins. There were also wins for London Irish, Northampton, London Welsh, over Sale, who are enduring a terrible start to the season. No wins from the first 4 games. Danny Cipriani must be scratching his head, wondering why on earth he came back to play for Sale. Let's have a quick look at that table. Harlequins remain top there on 19. Northampton a point adrift. Saracens, a bit of daylight there between second and third place on 12 points. And Sale, as already mentioned, are firmly rooted to the bottom of the table there, with only 1 point from the first 4 games. Massive game that's taking place this weekend, and that's Harlequins versus Saracens at Twickenham. The corresponding fixture last year at Twickenham was a world record crowd. For the biggest, I think it was about 90,000 people to watch a club rugby match. Saracens desperately needed to beat Harlequins this weekend. If they don't, then I think that's their championship certainly over and done with. In the Rabo Pro 12 Direct League, Munster bounced back from their loss against Ulster last weekend to defeat the Dragons, 33 points to 13. Leinster came out on top against Edinburgh, 22 points to 16. There were also wins for Cardiff, Glasgow, Ospreys, and the table looks like this. The Scarlets on 15, Munster and Cardiff are on 14 points, Leinster on 13, and that's after the first 4 rounds. And staying with a bit of rugby down south, it is the Rugby Championship, the penultimate week, and Argentina will be hosting the world champions, the All Blacks. And South Africa will welcome Australia. They'll be looking for some revenge from 2 weeks ago when they held a good lead coming into half-time, only to squander that to see the Aussies runaway winners there. So starting international rugby to take place from down south, should I say, this weekend in the Rugby Championship.
OK, and lastly, a roundup of the football.
Yeah, well, just give you a couple of results from Serie A as well to begin with. And Juventus now remain 44 games unbeaten. This is the best record in Europe at the moment. There's no doubt about that. Although they dropped points, they were held to a goalless draw against Fiorentina. Lazio lost to Genoa at home. A shock result there for Lazio. It's currently second in the league. Udinese continue to mount the misery on AC Milan. This is their worst start to the Serie A in 80 years. 3 losses from their first 4, and they went down to Udinese by 2-1. Not a good start to the season for AC Milan. Catania and Napoli were held to a goalless draw. Juventus are top of the league on 13, Napoli in second place on 10, Lazio a point adrift on 9. AC Milan are sitting in 15th place with only 3 points after the first 4 games. I'd be very surprised if heads don't roll there in the management department over the next week or so. And in Spain, another unbeaten match there for Malaga. They remain unbeaten over the season so far, but they were held to a goalless draw up north against Athletic Bilbao. Real Madrid finally got their La Liga season back on track with a 2-0 victory against Vallecano, although the game had to be delayed by 24 hours because the electrical cables at their city rivals were sabotaged and cut, so they had no floodlights on Sunday evening. Barcelona came out on top, 2-0 against Granada. Believe it or not, Lionel Messi did not get on the score sheet this weekend. Barcelona are at top of the table on 15, Malaga in third on 11, Mallorca just on the same points ahead of them on 11, and Real Madrid have now moved up to 7th with 7 points. Malaga take on Real Betis this weekend, Sevilla face welcome Barcelona, and Real Madrid are at home at the Santiago Bernabeu against Deportivo La Coruña. Staying with football, excuse me, Hannah. It's the Premiership. Some big games took place on the weekend. Defending champions Manchester City were held by a goal apiece against Arsenal. Big game there. Arsenal remain unbeaten. Spurs secured a second consecutive win, 2-1 against QPR. Jermaine Defoe on the score sheet there yet again. Liverpool continue to struggle, going down in one of the big games of the weekend, 1-2 to Manchester United. Robin van Persie with his 5th goal of the season. Chelsea came out on top against Stoke. There were also wins for Southampton, Everton, West Brom, Fulham, Newcastle, Demba Ba there with his 5th goal of the season. Chelsea remain top of the table on 13, United on 12, Everton 10, West Brom on 10, Arsenal remain unbeaten on 9 as well. Liverpool 18th in the league with only 2 points. You must excuse me, Anna.
Oh, it's all right.
Well, goodness me. And League Cup action tonight. United take on Newcastle in an all-Premiership tie. West Brom against Liverpool in an all-Premiership tie. And Arsenal take on Coventry as well, and that's the League Cup. And that is the sporting roundup, the very last one with you, Hannah Murray.
Oh, thank you, Dom, so much. I've really enjoyed your sporting roundup. I can't claim to have any knowledge on the sport roundup. You've been doing it all, but it's been good. I have learned a lot from you, so thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to have done it with you, Hannah.
Great. Well, you'll be on with Giles from next Wednesday, but you'll be on before that, of course, on Talk Radio Europe on Friday night for the Sports Bar at 7. Any plans for the show?
Yes, I do. It's around 14, I beg your pardon, of the MotoGP World Championship, which will be coming up from up north at Aragon in northern Spain, and I will be joined by the manager, Casey Stoner, and Repsol Honda. Casey Stoner, of course, is the world champion, who unfortunately is still currently injured. Reese will be joining me on my show just to talk about Casey's retirement, which shocked the world of MotoGP earlier this season, and just to talk about Johnny Rea, who's filling in for him at the moment, and the MotoGP season so far.
Great stuff. Well, that's the Friday Night Sports Bar on Talk Radio Europe at 7 p.m. with Dom Aldworth. Dom, thanks very much.